Hey, good morning, guys. What is up? It's Karan this side, and you're watching the Coffee Addict Trader. So it's a fresh new week, and we're gonna start the week with a lesson on how we can actually mark the high probability liquidity areas. Before that, let's discuss what's going on in terms of economic news events today. It's pretty much clean day, but there are some low impact news events at around uh, after 1 hour of London Open at around 1:30 p.m. So we can expect a little bit of volatility over there, but it's not that significant. We are already short in Euro USD, and I'm thinking about like cutting my position at around break even. Let's see how the price action unfolds, and nothing significant for the day. Okay, nothing significant for the day. So okay, a lot of you guys was asking me how I actually figure out where I'm targeting. The first thing we need to know when we're trading is where we're targeting. Either the target is valid or not. Okay, so here are some frameworks that I use. I call it next candle bias, and this is how I mark the high probability liquidity. Okay, the first thing we need to notice is what's going on in terms of exponential moving average. Either the extending EMA is below 20 or it's above 20. Okay, also either it's trending or it's just ranging and chopping around. It's also this is a thing that also matters. Okay, let's say the EMA is bearish, like the 10 EMA is currently below 20 EMA and it's clearly trending downside. Then we look for these three patterns. Okay, the first pattern is this first two patterns are pretty much same because they are close below previous candles low. Okay, in this case it's a bullish candle and in this case it's a bearish candle, but in both cases we are closing below the previous candles low. So whenever this kind of pattern appears in front of me, I just quickly target for the previous day's low or previous week's low. Let's say it's a week. If it's a weekly chart, then it's a previous weekly low. If it's a monthly chart, then previous monthly low. Obviously, if it's a daily chart, then previous daily low. So if anything like this appears, then I just target for the previous day's low and a little lower. If there is any kind of buy side, sell side liquidity sitting below, then I can target for that too. Okay, so it's a pretty short trick how I actually mark HPL when this two pattern occurs. Okay, there is another pattern that can occur when the 10 EMA is below 20 EMA. It is like it's a bullish candle and we are sweeping the previous candle's high and closing inside that. Okay, in this case we can target for this low and this low. Okay, one important thing is when we are looking for this pattern, this candle must be a red candle. Okay, this candle must be a black candle in this case. So we're sweeping above and closing below. You can quickly memorize it like this, like price closing below the previous day's low when the EMA environment is bearish, and this pattern is sweep above close lower. Okay, sweep above close low, and the pretty much vice versa scenario in this case when we are actually looking for longs when the EMA environment is actually bullish. Okay, we are closing above the previous day's high, and in this case we are closing above the previous day's high, and in this case we are sweeping low and closing above when the EMA environment is bullish. Okay, so whenever this kind of pattern appears in the bullish environment scenario, I just look for the buy side liquidities. I start targeting the previous weekly high, previous monthly high, or previous daily high, and the nearest buy side liquidities which is sitting above. Okay, the first target is obviously the previous daily high and previous like weekly high, the next candle's high. Okay, on the next candle we're going to start looking for this highs. So this is basically how I actually mark HPL. So let's scan through the chart and see as it's a fresh new weekly candle. So let's see what's our next weekly bias throughout all the pairs. Okay, so it's Dixie. For Dixie, we are looking for this high because the EMA environment is bullish and we are closing above the previous candle's high. So we are looking for this high and we can also target for this high. Okay, so what we are going to do basically, we are going to start looking for longs in lower time frame uh, towards this high. So in Euro USD, pretty much same story. The environment is bearish. The 10 EMA is currently trading below 20 EMA, and the last weekly candle managed to close below the low of the previous week. So we can target for this low, and we can also target for this low in long term. Okay, let's see what's going on in terms of GBP USD. Now, this is actually a little interesting. Even though like the last weekly candle managed to close below the previous weekly low, and we should target towards this low. In terms of pattern, we should target towards this low. But you can see the EMA is not that trending. Even though the 10 EMA is below 20 EMA, still it's a kind of low probability trade setup because it's not a clean trending EMA environment. But still, we're looking for the previous weekly low, and let's see what's going on in AUD USD. In AUD USD, it's not okay. The EMA environment is bullish till now. The 10 EMA is above 20 EMA, but we don't have any pattern over here, so we are just skipping it. Okay, this one is an interesting one. The EMA environment is bullish, and we are just seeing a sweep low close above example. So what we are looking for the next week, for this week, we are looking for this high. So if I find any kind of lower time frame longing opportunity, I'm definitely gonna go for it, and I'm gonna target for this high and possibly this high. But obviously, the first target is this high. Let's see what's going on in NZD USD. Okay, I can see a sweep high and close lower pattern. And the EMA environment is also bearish, but it's not a trending bearish. It's a kind of choppy one. But still, we can look for the previous weekly low over here. Obviously, the previous weekly low and a little lower if possible. USD CHF pretty much same scene. We're closing above the previous weekly high when the EMA environment is bullish. So you're basically targeting for the previous weekly high. So this is our target. If I find any good long setup in the intraday time frames, then I'm definitely gonna go for it, and I'm gonna target for this size. Let's see what's going on in USD JPY. Same story. We're closing above the previous candle's high, and the 1020 EMA is bullish. The environment is also bullish, so we can target for this high. Gold. Okay, it's gonna be give us a little confusing situation. There is nothing clean for me. We are clearing the previous candle high and closing as a green candle, so it's not. It's just a skip for me. Uh, Over here, we are already about to trade above the previous weekly high. The EMA environment is bullish. The previous candle managed to close above the high of the previous week, so we can target for this high, and we are already trading towards that in Euro JPY. Euro AUD, we are targeting for the previous weekly low. The EMA environment is bearish, and the last weekly candle managed to close below the low of the previous week, so we can target for this low and more lower. But for now, we are looking for shorts here and long in the short intraday time frames. Euro is a deep, very choppy environment right now. Even though the day 10 EMA is below 20, but still it's kind of choppy environment going on, and it's giving me a bullish sign because we're clearing the previous weekly low and closing above, but the EMA environment is not bullish. This is what happens when the choppy market, when we find some kind of choppy market, like the pattern and the EMA, they both give like contradictory setups. So it's just a skip. Euro CHF, obviously we can look for the previous weekly high. Hope like it's pretty much eye catchy. Like you know what, like a good trader is actually a good pattern recognizer. Okay, and I'm not telling you to actually follow whatever I just teach you, but I just want you to know what you are good at. Like whenever you look at the chart, what is the first thing that catch your eyes? Okay, and you know what? You're gonna make your edge using that. Okay, I'm just giving you some perspective that you can use to find high probability tradable opportunities. But when it comes to discretionary trading, it all every trader is different. Okay, so yeah, uh, keep backtesting, keep spending more time with chart and figure out what works for you. So over here, okay, this is an interesting one because the EMA environment is bullish. Even though the 1020 EMA is converging, we managed to clear this low and we closed above, but it's a skip. Like there is no setup, there is no pattern, and at the same time the EMA environment is also like bullish. So it's just a skip. GBP JPY. Okay, it's the last weekly candle was an insider bar. So what we do when it's an insider bar? Either we skip or we can also look for one candle back. And the last week we was targeting for the previous weekly high, so we can still target for the previous this weekly high overall in long term. So if we find any long term intraday long setup, then we can definitely go for it and target for this high. And but you know what is possible, like whenever this kind of situation appears, it's highly possible that we're going to sweep below the previous weekly low and then start moving towards upside. Let's see what's going on in GBP CAD. There is nothing clean. The EMA environment is bullish, but we are getting a bearish scenario, bearish pattern. Like the pattern is telling me that target towards this low, but the EMA environment is obviously not supporting that, so I'm just deleting this. GBP NZD, nothing clean over here. If the price is like closing as a bearish candle, so we can't target towards the previous weekly high. So it's the skip. The EMA environment is still bearish in GBP AUD. Price managed to close below the previous weekly low, and we are already clearing the previous weekly low. So it's a skip for me, even though actually I'm looking for something like this in long term. But still, let's see what's going on in GBP CHF. Okay, another insider bar. Now, what we need to target for? We need to target for this high because if we just go one candle back, then the last candle managed to close above the previous weekly high. So we can target towards this high and nearest buy side liquidities. AUD okay, we sweep below and close above when the EMA environment is bullish. So we need to target for this high. Yep, we need to target for this high, and this high in long term. For the first one, like the first target is obviously this high, previous weekly high. Pretty much same story in AUD JPY. We are already trading above the previous weekly high over here. The EMA environment is bullish, and we're closing above the previous weekly high. So we can target for this high. This high is already cleared, so we can also target for this high. If we find any long setup in lower time frame, intraday time frames like 4 hour, 1 hour, then we can definitely go for it. AUD CHF, we're already clearing the previous weekly high. There is no buy side liquidity clean. We can target towards this high, but still, it's better if we just keep it. NZD CAD, the EM environment is bullish, but it's giving me a bearish setup. Like we are closing clearing the previous weekly high and closing like this. So it's a confusing one. So we're gonna skip it. NZD JPY, we're clearing the previous weekly high and closing as a bearish candle, even though it's more like a dozy candle, not that strong bearish one. So we can target towards this low, but still, like honestly, I'm gonna skip it because it's more like a dozy candle than a bearish candle. Obviously, we are going to target for this high over here. The last weekly candle managed to close above the previous weekly high, and the EMA environment is bullish. BTC skip. So yeah, this is how we scan the chart and mark the HPL in weekly time frame every week. Um, on Monday, this is the first job for me, and now I can look for like now my throughout the week my job is simple. I just need to line up my intraday setups like 4 hour, 1 hour setups with this HPS that I just marked. So yeah, that's all from my side for this session, and see you soon on the next session. It was not that as like it was not a scan video, but okay, let's see what's going on in Euro USD. Possibly I'm gonna cut my position, or I'm gonna let it run. Let's see what's going on. The weekly bias is lining up, so possibly I'm gonna let it run. Let's see how it unfolds. It's possible that we're gonna trade above this high and then get some good trade setups towards downside, but still I'm just gonna hold this setup for now. So yeah, it was not a proper scan video, but hopefully it was valuable for someone, because in trading, the first thing we need to do is know where we are actually targeting for. Okay, and the like and the next thing is from where we can actually target that, where to enter and where to target. These are the two main important questions that we need to ask ourselves and find the answer before we place any kind of order in the market. So yeah, see you soon on the next session, guys. Have a great day.